Just a little bit of Christmas in August. Can't start too soon. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and welcome to my weekly vlog for Monday, August the 31st, 2020, and it's day 173 of COVID isolation. And it's hard to believe, but we're about to enter into September. And with September will come a whole new wrath of problems with the kids going back to school, at least in our area. So yeah, let's not dwell on that. We know what's coming. Okay, so let's just talk about what I have been up to this week. You saw in the teaser, I finished my little Christmas tree. I don't think I'll make another one of those because it was tedious. For those people who like tedious work, I'm sure you would enjoy that project, but for me, one is enough. And what else have I been working on? Well, I don't have much really to show you because I haven't got anything really finished, but I spent sort of the weekend getting a couple of more of my Halloween tiles done for my Halloween wall hanger, and here's two of them. There is one more to go. Then I sew these onto the existing ones already, and then I have to decide what I'm going to do about borders and things like that. Then I can get a backing on it, get it bound, and it is done. And I can move on to the next project. And what is the next project? Well, next one is making haunted houses. Now, this is an embroidery design. It's what they call a freestanding lace. There is some applique involved too, but basically when you're done, you have a three-dimensional haunted house. Now, I bought two of these patterns. They're not cheap. The two patterns ended up costing me almost $100 Canadian, but they are really cool. They are constructed in such a way that you can put a little tea light, or in my case, I have little lights that actually change color and you can run from a remote control, and they'll look really cool. Now, I said I have two of them. I'm working on one and Walter's working on the other one, and he has never done one of these before, but he's been working on it throughout the weekend. They do take a while to make. They're fairly elaborate. You make them in pieces and the pieces get joined together, and they have sort of a neat way for doing that. When I first did something like this with this system, I was a little confused, but it basically, they call them buttons and eyelets, and it actually embroiders these parts on some of the pieces that come out. They're little round dots of thread, basically very firm thread, and on other pieces there's a little eyelet built in and all reinforced, and you put the button into the eyelet and that holds it all together. They are tricky to do that, but I have found that you can get these things called alligator clips, and I have some of them, and what they call it, hemostat, which is basically a long medical tool that clamps at one end, and you use that to pull the things through, and the little alligator clips hold all the pieces together. And when you're finished assembling it, I just hit each one of the little buttons with a drop of fabric glue, and there you are. So when I get it done and Walter gets his done, I'll show you what they look like. They are really quite cool. They have another one. I've been tempted to buy it. I think it's $29.99 US, so that works out to about $45 Canadian. It's a haunted house, or haunted, these are haunted houses. It's a haunted mansion or something. It goes with the series. I'll see. I don't know. By the time I get mine done, I probably will be sick of the whole project and want to get on with my Christmas things. So I've been working on those. This week I am hoping that I am going to start quilting my Christmas quilt, the one with the tree on it that I showed you a few weeks ago. It hasn't been layered yet, but I've got to get on with that. And I was going to save this for when I show you new products, but I think it's more appropriate to show it to you now. I bought some things that I saw on YouTube. Now these are for ruler foot quilting. Now I know what ruler foot quilting is. It's essentially what it says. You have a special foot in your sewing machine that you can use with special templates, and you follow the templates around, and that's how you quilt. And I do have a set of templates already that came from, were designed by a woman called Angela Walters. She's kind of a guru in free motion quilting. And ruler foot quilting is a form of free motion quilting, but a little bit more controlled because you're using templates. And these are the templates. Now, they don't look like much when you first see them. They're acrylic, but they're thick, and the special foot rests against those. And depending on how you manipulate this shape, you can get all kinds of different designs. For example, this one does what they call clamshell or scallops. Then there's all kinds of different curves you can make. There's another one like this, which makes, you know, flower petals or whatever, circles, squares. You follow them around. They are supposed to help you make your quilting a little bit more uniform and a little bit easier to use if you're not confident with absolute free motion quilting. Now, I have tried ruler foot quilting before, and yeah, I've had mixed results, and I didn't really stick to it. But when I saw these particular templates and the video that went along with them, I thought, you know, I'm going to have to give it a go again. So my plan is to do a very simple design using ruler foot quilting and the templates on the Christmas tree quilt. Of course, that means I have to get the quilt layered. Now, I have a new way to do it, and I had a whole video about that. Usually I just put all the pieces, the backing, the batting, and the top on the floor and crawl around it, and that's actually really hard on your knees and on your back. And because you're doing it on top of carpet, because I don't have an area that is big enough without carpet, which would be more ideal, it's a struggle to keep everything flat. And of course, batting is a little bit sticky in that it'll stick to the fabric. So yeah, you're fighting with it all the time. But I discovered that I have enough folding tables that give me a big area to spread this all out on. And it's smooth. I'm not bent over. It's just a whole lot easier. I also found that if I use that setup along with my sewing machine, it makes quilting a little easier as well, because the weight of your quilt is distributed across the tables. Now, it does take up a big piece of my rec room when I do this. And, you know, basically once it's up, you're committed, because you can't be taking it down and putting it up all the time for this. Until you get the quilt done. So, you know, it kind of works as motivation to get your quilt done, because who wants this setup blocking up the rec room forever? It would be nice if I had a room where I could do that and just leave it, but no such luck. I would need a much bigger house, and that might be a bit of an expense, right? So anyways, that's my plan. I'm hoping to get to that probably tomorrow, because today I have to do something I do not like doing. I have to clean my house. Now, when I say I don't like doing it, I don't like the thought of doing it, but what I hate worse is a house that needs cleaning. And I used to have a cleaning lady, as I've mentioned before, but because of COVID, I no longer have her, and I don't think I'm going to hire her back. Not because of anything she has done, it's just that right now I am not comfortable having her or anybody else come into my home. For that matter, and I don't think she would be comfortable either. She certainly has not been calling us up and saying, you know, when are you going to hire me back? I also think that she's an industrial cleaner as well. She has her own business. And I have a feeling that because I've had her for over 20 years, that I don't know how many clients she has left. I think she may have gone completely into the industrial cleaning, and maybe she just hangs on to us because we've had her for so long, and, you know, we're old men, so, you know, it's her time to do something nice for the old people. Well, I don't really think she thinks that, but you know what I mean. So I'm going to clean, and once I get into it, it's not too bad. I kind of like get the second wind and away I go. But it is not something I enjoy doing. But as I said, I love it when it's done because I have a clean house. Now, we are not dirty people. We are not messy people. We usually clean as we go through the house. Right now, my Robo is upstairs vacuuming for me. My Roomba, I guess that's what it's called. And yeah, but so I only do it the first of every month. I used to have the cleaning lady come in every other week, so twice a month. But you know, if you clean as you go, really, it doesn't get that dusty. You know, but a month is about as far as I can go before I have to clean it again. So that's my project for today after I'm finished doing this. Okay, let's move on because that took me off topic. Another thing though that I am working on, this is just a little sneak peek and I just have to grab a piece of it. Now, I sometimes have bought these little wooden pieces from the dollar store and they come in these cute little wooden boxes. They're just balsa wood, basically. But I keep the boxes because they're wood and, you know, you think there's something you must want to do with this. And there's other people doing the same thing. In fact, in my art journal group, one of the ladies on there asked, has anybody had these little boxes that the little wood things come in? And a bunch of us said, oh yeah, we have them. She says, well, why don't we do a challenge? And the challenge is to turn these into something. We've set a deadline date of November the 22nd for the reveal. And it's really up to us how we're going to deal with them. Well, I have several of these boxes in different sizes. And not to let too much of this go by, but this is going to involve another type of album in a box, but I'm going to call it a curio cabinet. And that's all I'm going to tell you right now because I will make a video of this, which I will show in bits and pieces in future vlogs. Now that won't come for a while. I'll do it the same way as I do my series that I have done previously and that I'm doing right now about, you know, bookbinding or, you know, creating albums and things like that. I spent several days staring at the pile of these, trying to figure out what I was going to do with them. And I finally got an idea. And I'm kind of excited about the idea. There's a few more things I have to purchase to put this all together, but I've started doing the initial painting of these, and that's why this is white. That's gesso. Balsam wood's very absorbent, so I figured if I put any other kind of treatments onto this, they'll be absorbed into it. So gesso will help put a barrier in there and keep things from absorbing too much into the wood so that, you know, I don't have to put multiple coats on everything. But that's all I'm going to tell you for now. And you're not going to see it for a while, but just keep it in the back of your mind. I think this one's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so that's all I've been working on for now. So let's talk about the YouTube channel of the week. Again, you know, I go hunting for men who do things in the fiber textile arts, quilting, sewing, knitting, that kind of thing, crocheting, whatever. And believe it or not, there are a lot of men out there who are doing these kind of things, and a lot of men who are putting up YouTube videos about it, and this is one that I find very entertaining. This week's YouTube channel is called The Bearded Pearl. This is two guys who do a lot of knitting, and I think they do a little bit of quilting as well, and some sewing. They're quite entertaining to listen to, but especially if you are a knitter, you'll probably get more out of it than I do. I'm hoping in future videos they will show some of their quilting as well, but they're entertaining. They do happen to be gay. It seems that all of the people on YouTube that do, or males that is, that do YouTube videos about the sewing arts or fiber arts tend to be gay. But anyways, I digress. As I said, very entertaining, very likable fellows as well, and their personalities come out through their YouTube video, and they also have some products for sale, and they have an Etsy store as well. They make really nice looking pouches for holding your knitting supplies and other things. So if you're a knitter, or even if you're just a general sewing enthusiast, you will want to check out The Bearded Pearl. So you will find the link to The Bearded Pearl in the show notes below, and do check them out. They're interesting to listen to, and if you are a knitter, you'll get even more out of it. Okay, let's talk though about the other things that are in the show notes as well. Now, of course, there's the usual Stephen and Walter live connection is there. The book of the week is there, but you will now find the link, as promised, to the Craft and Chat Zoom session that I am planning to hold this Wednesday, September the 2nd, at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And there's a link there for that. Those of you that joined us last month know how that works. Those of you that don't, you don't need any special software. All you need to do is click on the link. I would suggest, if this is the first time you've ever done Zoom, that about 10 minutes before the starting time, you click on the link in case it recommends that you download a little application. It'll work on your iPhone, your iPad, and your computer as well. And all you need to join in to the conversation is your webcam on and your microphone turned on, which will probably automatically happen when you join in. Now, when you first click on the link, you're not going to get instantly into the Zoom. I have to let you in. There's a place on there for me as the host called the waiting room. I see it when it notifies me when you've connected, and then I just push a button to admit you in, and away we go. And if you've never been on one of these before with us, it's very informal. It's a very safe environment. We try to stay away, well, we don't try, we do stay away from talking about anything political and anything to do with COVID. We just talk about our art, and our art involves any kind of art. Anything that you love to make is art. So, paper crafting, scrapbooking, card making, mixed media, journal making, album making, quilting, sewing, knitting, crochet, whatever floats your boat, that's what we're centering this around. I am going to do a demo this month of resin products. I'm not an expert on resin, but I'm just going to share what I know, what I've done, my pitfalls, things like that. And I encourage other people to also talk about products they're using or have used, and talk from an honest point of view about whether or not the product worked for them, and that kind of thing. And the whole idea here is we're sharing what expertise we have in our area of interest. And when I say expertise, nobody has to be an expert. Nobody is an expert on this kind of thing. I know some people think they're experts on it, but we're just sharing our successes and our failures. And this is a non-judgmental area. That's why I said it was safe. We'd love to see your work, so don't be shy. Show us something, because you're going to get lots of support for it. Because, you know, everybody is an artist. It is in us as human beings. So don't let anybody ever tell you you can't create art. Maybe you can't paint the Mona Lisa, but that's not the only art form there is out there. And I say to those people who think that only kind of art is fine art, this is the stuff you go to school to study and that kind of thing, they're not really welcome on this Zoom meeting. We don't want you, because you're art snobs. Everybody is capable of doing art. Okay? So, you're not going to find anybody criticizing it. You're just going to get lots and lots of support and interest in the sharing of ideas. So I hope you can join us on Wednesday, September the 2nd. That's this Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if that time isn't good for you because you live in a time zone that means you're probably in bed or you're at work or whatever, don't worry. I'm going to be recording the session and posting it on my YouTube channel so you can catch it in the playback later. And that's just a warning to other people. Warning, that sounds ominous. It is going to be recorded. If you are upset about that idea of being recorded, well, don't join us. I guess. Or you can, if you want to be there, you can turn off your microphone, turn off your camera, but you'll still be able to see and hear the rest of us. And there is a chat mode as well, where you can type things in. Now, the chat mode is not captured on the recording, so a little bit more of a, for those who need it, a safe environment. But there's nothing to be afraid of here, okay? We don't bite, unless you want us to. No, just kidding. Okay, so that takes me to what's pissing me off this week. I need a little coffee for this. Now, what's pissing me off this week was generated by something that happened earlier in the week the doorbell rang. Now, in this time of COVID, you hear the doorbell ring, you kind of, what's on the other side? So I hesitantly opened up the door, and there's two young fellows keeping their distance, standing there, and telling me, they're going, "Hi, we're from the Red Cross." Oh, yes. Okay. Everybody knows what the Red Cross is, right? It's been around for years, like probably 100 years. Maybe more. I don't know. Anyways, I said, "Oh, yes." Of course, what were they looking for? Money, donations. Well, I have a problem with that. Okay, let me just talk generally, first of all, about how I handle donations to charities. Everybody has their hand out. Everybody wants money, right? I'm a stingy bugger. Okay, I admit it. I feel bad about it sometimes, but I really don't give that much money to charities. And there are quite a few reasons why I don't. But one of the main reasons is I'm a cheap bugger. Okay? Sorry, but I am. I'm being honest about it. So I just don't give my money away to just anybody. Okay? The other thing I don't like about door-to-door canvassing and charities in general is the fact that they're coming around and they try to play on your emotions. What's Red Cross doing on my doorstep in the middle of a pandemic? Now, before you get all riled up with me and say, "But the Red Cross does really great work, you know, and they help people in times of need and stuff like that." And yes, they do to a certain extent. And I'll say in a moment what I mean by a certain extent. Yes, but right now, I don't know if it's appropriate for them to be canvassing from door to door. Maybe mailing you something, emailing you something, calling you on the phone might be safer, might be more appropriate. I don't know. The other thing too is it is very difficult to turn down a charity when there's actually a face standing near your face asking for that money. And they know that. All charities know that. That's why they have canvassers. It's easy to turn down, to ignore an email. It's easy to say to somebody on the phone, "I'm not interested. Thank you for your call. Goodbye, drop dead." That kind of thing. But when it's a face-to-face, it's much more difficult to do that. I don't have a problem with it, but a lot of people do. Okay, so back to the Red Cross. So there they are. And so I said to these guys, okay, after they did the spiel, I said, "I'm not going to give you a donation, but I'll give you two reasons why." First reason is I have limited amount of money that I give to charities each year. That money is already earmarked for those particular ones. You're not on the list. I'm sorry. Reason two, though, which is more particular to the Red Cross, and I looked them in the eye and said, "I'm gay." Pause. They're both standing there trying to think, where is he going with this? And I said, "And at one point in time, you used to be responsible for taking blood." Now, they were about to cut in on me, and I says, "I know you're not anymore. I know now here in Canada, anyways, we have the Canadian Blood Services. But they were part of you at one time. In fact, there was a time when Red Cross got into a lot of controversy on taking people's blood and doing proper screening of it for diseases. And so they decided to split the organization and create Canadian Blood Services and the Red Cross. And to my knowledge, the Red Cross section now looks after, devastation, disaster relief, things like that. And Canadian Blood Services look for blood donations and all of that. But here's my problem. One of the reasons why it got split up like that had to do with the fact that there was something called AIDS. There still is something called AIDS. And you got into hot water with that because it was in the early stages of AIDS and nobody really knew how it was being transmitted, but they did know it was transmitted through blood. And they didn't know how to screen it out. And they ran into some problems with that. So today, Canadian Blood Services, which as far as I'm concerned is still tightly connected to Red Cross, will not take a blood donation from me. They'll take my money but they won't take my blood. And the only reason they won't take my blood is because I'm gay. And because I'm gay, I am probably a transmitter of AIDS. Wrong. AIDS is not a gay disease. We know that. We know that. Anybody can get AIDS. But they don't discriminate against the heterosexual community that want to give blood. But they do to us. They will not take our blood. Now, before you go AWOL on that one, yes, the rules have changed a little bit over the last few years. Now they're saying, yeah, we'll take your blood as long as you've been celibate for the last year. I think they may have cut that down to the last 6 or 3 months, something like that. Nevertheless, that's discrimination still, isn't it? If you're a healthy straight man or woman and you walk into Canadian Blood Service to donate blood, they don't make you ask you if you've been celibate for a length of time. They may ask you if you've had this sickness or that sickness and that, but they don't ask you about that. So it's discrimination. So why should I support an organization that feels I'm at the least a second-class citizen? So I told that to those guys. And they went, well, they had nothing against that, and they didn't have anything to do with Canadian Blood Services. And I says, I understand that. I'm just telling you that's my reason why you're not going to get any money from me today. So good luck. Thanks for dropping by. Bye-bye. Okay, so what's pissing me off? Well, I did some research into the Red Cross. The Red Cross a few years ago was claiming that 91% of their funds from the articles that I read, okay, so I didn't do a thorough research on this. I'll say that right off the bat. So but I'm pretty sure these articles that I found are from reliable sources, okay? They're just not somebody screaming away on the internet. They claimed that 91% of their funds went to, disaster relief and things like that. So meaning, in other words, 9% of their funds ran Red Cross. Well, some journalists went in and found out that that's not completely true. Now, like a lot of charitable organizations, they come, they want your money and the whole bit. But a lot of their funds go to running the organization, paying their CEO, paying the people that work for them, paying for advertising and promotion products, even paying the canvassers. In fact, Walter said to me, you should have asked them if they were being paid to go door to door. They did not say they were volunteers. They had the little tags that everybody wears now saying what service they're from. But I do suspect that they were being paid. And okay, I'm diverting here a little bit off topic, but I'll come back to it. Okay, right now, people need jobs, right? So these were young fellows, possibly, university type students. They're trying to make a few bucks, and this was an opportunity for them to do that. And I don't hold that against them. Not at all. What I hold it against is that the organization, like the Red Cross, is possibly paying people to do this kind of thing. Well, okay, the argument there could be it's hard to get volunteers these days. Yes, I agree, and money does attract them. But nevertheless, if they're paying them, that's coming out of the money that's being donated. So I found another article. Actually, the Red Cross turned around and said, yeah, we were a little wrong on that 91% figure. It's a little lower than that. And then they had some excuses for, they need this, and the other thing. Now, there was a financial statement posted on the internet. I'm not sure for which year. I think it was for 2017 or 2018, showing basically where their money was coming from and where it was going. So they're trying to be transparent by putting that up. But have you ever tried, unless you're an accountant and you try to read one of those reports, you really don't know what it means. But I scanned through it and looked at it, and from what I could tell is, yeah, they've got a lot of expenses. A lot of expenses. Okay, that's fine. But don't be letting people think that when you're donating to them, that money, all of it, is going to help the less fortunate. In fact, any money you donate to any organization, not 100% of it goes to support, whatever the charity is in terms of like helping other people. Yes, they all have administrative costs. In this day and age, nothing is for nothing. So yeah, you got to spend it. But some organizations spend 80% of it on administration and only 20% of it to going out to, help who they say they're going to help. Some cases, it's even less than that. Well, the Red Cross isn't quite that bad. I saw another article that basically said for every $100 that the Red Cross raises or has donated, 30% of that goes to administration costs. So 70% is going out. Well, that's not 91%, is it? Suddenly the number has dropped from 91 to 70%. That still, though, I think is pretty good. Okay. But then I saw another article where the Red Cross was trying to explain when they said 91%, they were also taking into consideration blood donations. Hold it. Red light. Blood donations. But I thought the Red Cross no longer, at least here in Canada, no longer takes blood donations. They work on disaster relief. Canadian Blood Services takes the blood. What's going on here? So I go back to what I said about how Canadian Blood Services was created. I did oversimplify that. I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than I have said it, but essentially I was trying to boil it down to here's why it exists, okay? So, what am I pissed off about? Well, I'm pissed off that an organization like the Red Cross, which has always had a very good name, okay, is in terms of charities, things that they do, are coming around trying to get money from me, and yet because of their relationship to Canadian Blood Services, they're discriminatory. My money is good for charities, but nothing else. Yeah, they'll look the other way when, in terms of supporting a group in society that is discriminated against, that kind of thing. They'll turn a blind eye to that as long as you give them money. And I guess you can say that about any organization, not just the Red Cross. So that's what I'm pissed off about this week. People, again, trying to take my money under not quite false pretenses, but, what's a lie? Is it lying when you omit certain details, like how much money actually goes to, to parties, deserving parties, and how much of it is actually retained in-house to pay employees, to pay other administrative costs and things like that? I don't know. It's very hard to tell. It's very hard to know who to give your money to, what organization is going to get the most bang for the buck that you donate to them. So, Red Cross for now is not getting any of my money. Maybe if they start treating the gay community just like everybody else and not making us feel like second-class citizens. And when I say the Red Cross, I mean the Canadian Blood Services, because as far as I'm concerned, in my mind, right or wrong, they are the same thing. So, yeah, that's why I'm pissed off at this week. Just beware of where your dollar goes. Okay? All right, moving on. Product reviews. Okay, I showed you the ruler foot templates, but I got another thing. So, I'm thinking, okay, I'm making these wall hangings, so I should really do what they're designed for, hang them on a wall. But I don't have a lot of wall space. I would dearly love to hang more of my quilts up, but I don't have the wall space. Also, hanging a quilt or wall hanging isn't just a matter of like knocking a nail through it on the wall. You need a system that'll hold it up. And these things are heavy. So I looked online for various things. I also wanted something that where I could switch out very easily a hanger. So for example, I did locate an area in my craft room that right now has some miscellaneous pieces of art. I'm looking over that way because I can see them all. They've been up there for a while. I think it's time to take them down. I measured the space and I can easily put wall hangings or small quilts up in that area. But how am I going to hang them up, and how am I going to have something that is easy to swap out from month to month or whatever, you know, a different wall hanging, for example. So, you know, in October, I might want my Halloween wall hanging. In December, I might want my Christmas wall hanging. Come the spring, I might want to have a small lap size quilt that's very springy in colors there. You know, swapping it out all the time. So I did hear, or not hear, I saw at one point in time that IKEA had a system that basically was like a curtain rod with little hooks that hung down to it, little clamps. So I went looking for this because I thought that would be good if it's strong enough to hold, you know, 10 pounds of quilt or whatever. That would be good. Well, do you think I could find it on the IKEA catalog? No. Maybe you have to go to the IKEA store to find it. I don't know, but I looked all online for it, couldn't find it. So I went searching for methods of hanging quilts, and I found lots of things. A lot of them involved the curtain rod and what they call a hanging sleeve. I've done hanging sleeves before. Basically, it is a tube of fabric you sew on the top back of your quilt, big enough for a curtain rod to go through, and that's how you hang it. They work very well. They keep your quilt very straight, very supported in the whole bit, and they're a bitch because 9 times out of 10 you have to hand sew them onto the back of your quilt. And plus, if the quilt is actually going to be, say you're going to give it to somebody as a gift afterwards, or you want to put it on a bed, you have this stinking sleeve on the back of it. Yes, you could make it so you could tear out the stitches and whatnot, but yeah, too much work. So I went looking for some kind of clamp system, and I came across, and I have no idea whether this is going to work or not, but I took a chance. It wasn't that expensive. Got it here in the bag, but it's going to pull it out and show you what it is. And here's what it is. It is basically a wire. It's a very strong wire. It's picture hanging wire, but a fairly thick gauge. And there's these little things, and these attach to your wall. And they like face this way when we go the opposite way in. And if you see on the back, it kind of shows you. You string this wire in between it. It's got a clamping system so you can pull the wire taut. And then you use these little things, which I haven't opened the bag yet. Let me grab a pair of scissors here and open this up and show you. So you have these little thingies. There's a hook. Hook on one end, goes over the wire, and these little clamps open up, and you clamp your thing into it. Now, I was worried when I ordered these whether these clamps would be big enough and strong enough, but this is very strong, this clamp right now. So that's one worry away, and I can open it up about that much, and that should be enough. Well, I know it'll be enough to hang on to my wall hanging or a quilt. And there's about 20 of these in the package. So you just put them across the wire, clamp everything in, presto bingo. My theory. Haven't done it yet. We'll see. Now, it did say that this system would hold up to 11 pounds. Well, that should be good for the wall hangings I'm thinking of putting there, because they don't weigh 11 pounds. They're under it. The one thing I'm a little concerned about is whether or not, because you got these two wires, how taut it pulls it, will it start to sag in the middle? Well, I think they have a solution for that. I thought I saw it on the website. I don't see it in here, do I? There was a little... It doesn't look like this came with that. But there was a little clamp that you could put a screw nail into your wall in the middle point of the wire, and the wire ran through it and it would support it. But I am sure if I do have a problem with that, I can get something that will work with that too. So that's what I'm going to give a try. Yeah, I have to get Walter to put it up for me. Yeah, I'm not very good at those kind of things. I would probably destroy the wall. But we'll see how that works. And it's got, you know, if you have, it's got plugs for screwing it into drywall kind of thing. But there are studs on the other side of that wall, and depending on where they're spaced, we may be able to actually anchor these right into the studs in the wall, which would be probably better. But that's what I'm going to give a try, and we'll see. And as I said, if this doesn't really work, well, I'm back to square one. It only cost me $17.99 Canadian for this. So we'll see. And if it does work out very well, I have another area where I'm thinking that's a little larger that I could put a larger quilt on, that I might buy another one of these and do that. And it came with a fairly lengthy, I think it said 16.5 feet, 5 meters, 5 meter long wire. So yeah, that's in about 16.5 feet or so. So lots, much longer than what I need, so that's okay. So we'll see. We'll see how that all works out. What else did I buy? Well, that was about it, except for the fact that I am expecting my replacement ruler, the one that I showed you last week that came to me, the 2.5 by 24.5 inch ruler, quilting ruler, and it was broken on one end. I did fix that, by the way, with a little Gorilla Glue, but that's still not perfect, okay, because it still gives you a little bit of a ridge on the side, and you don't want that. It'll make your rotary cutter kind of do a little wow in your fabric, and you don't want that. But the company just notified me that I ordered from that my replacement one is going to arrive today here at my house. So that's pretty darn good. Again, that shout out to thequiltstore.ca. If you're Canadian, if you're Ontario, or if anywhere in Canada, they probably ship to the States too. Excellent service. Excellent service. I've ordered from them about 3 times now, different things, and no complaints. This is the first time I've had a problem with the product, and they immediately went right into action to solve the problem. So that's good. That's good customer service. So I've been making a list of Christmas projects that I want to sew. One of those was that little tree, which is done. The other thing is the Christmas wall hanging, which is nowhere near done. The Christmas quilt, I did some placemats, showed those to you last week. As well, and now I was thinking of making some Christmas napkins, and so I bought 2 meters each of these 2 fabrics. They are both the same design, one though in the off-white, one in the red, because I can't make up my mind whether I want to do the embroidery on this. Yes, I'm going to embroider the napkins using my machine, like some design in the corner. I don't know what it's going to be, and or whether I want to do it in the red, or I'm going to do a half and half. When you make napkins, you usually have a front and a back. I use 2 pieces of fabric, usually anywhere between 18 to 20 inches square. I serge them together, but I embroider on one side first, just down in a corner, kind of a deal. And then you put the 2 pieces together, serge them, and you've got a napkin. Now, I can also do a front in this, the back in this, which might look very nice, or I just do 4 napkins all in this, because I bought enough fabric to do 4 napkins. 2 meters will get me 4 napkins, good size napkins, okay, dinner napkins. So I could get 4 out of this and 4 out of this, so I'd have 4 white, 4 red. I don't know yet, haven't decided, haven't thought that far ahead yet, but I have the fabric for those, so that's done. And I think for buying Christmas fabric right now, I have enough. In fact, I have more than enough. I have a few other projects in mind as well, but I think I've got enough fabric to get me through. So, yeah. Do you ever have enough fabric? Never say never. Okay, so that's what's been new. What else? Well, the book of the week. So let's talk about that. It's a little book, but it's a book about handmade books. And you can see I went through it at one point in time and marked certain pages. It's by Lark Studios. Now, the book I talked about last night was by this same, no, it was, Lark Crafts. This Lark Studio, but it's a division of Lark Crafts. And that book I was very impressed with. So this is another one. That's probably why I bought this one, because it was from the same company. So inside, what do you have? Again, this is not a how-to book. This just is a book of inspiration. It just shows you very artistic concepts of books and albums that people have made. And it doesn't tell you how to do them. They're probably one-of-a-kind pieces of art, but it can probably give you some really neat ideas for doing something your own that'll be one-of-a-kind art. Now, just out of curiosity, I'm going to turn to one of the pages that I have marked and see why I marked it. Let's see. Okay, this looked kind of cool. So it's kind of an accordion folded book, but it's got these folds in the inside and pictures on the outside. Just kind of a really neat idea. And let's see, another page that I marked. Oh, this looks kind of cool. This is a book that folds up into a box. You can see the box down there. Kind of neat. Now, the problem with this book is if you're looking for instructions on how to make something like this, it doesn't give it to you. So you'd have to study the picture and figure out what they were doing here. And if you have a little bit of experience with making albums and that, you probably can figure it out. Unless you see something like this. That's a book? That looks like something from another planet. Spirit book. Oh yeah, if you look at it real close, there's little folded books inside this bizarre looking object. Okay, see, that's all that in there. So yeah, really kind of neat for inspiration. Now, I paid $16.95 for this book at the time. I looked it up on Amazon. On Amazon, you can get this book for $24.80 plus shipping. So it's a little pricey, but it's a very nice book to look through and kind of a neat size too. So that's the book of the week if you're interested. Now, I'm coming to the point where I've almost gone through all of my books. So I don't know what I'm going to do next in this segment to review things. I'll have to think about it. I think I still have a couple more books I can review, but after that, who knows? Something else. Any suggestions for something in this segment to fill it up? Drop me a line. Let me know. Okay, so that takes us to works in progress. So we've already seen segment 1 and segment 2 of my book house. This is segment 3. So here's the house now, all completed. Of course, I haven't mounted it yet on top of the drawer, and that'll be the next thing to do. But let's just see what details I've added to this. I had these little trees that I picked up at Michael's, and I just glued them down to the edge here. And in behind them, you'll see that there's some little bushes that are cut using the Cricut. And I put them around part of the side as well. I mentioned the dormer windows in the last session. And here's what the other side looks like. Now I've grunged it up a little bit on the edges using the Distress Stickles along the little gingerbread trim that's on there. I think that's what you call it, gingerbread trim. And I also grunged it up using some Stays On Timber Brown ink along the edges of the house as well. And to give sort of like a bit of a gravelly sidewalk in front of the house, I put the Stickles Black Soot Distress glue on that as well. And you can see in my windows I have my people looking out, and I think that turned out pretty good the way that looks. So the overall effect of the house right now is one of grunge. Now I haven't done anything on the back except just left it as it is, and I think that's what I'm going to do with it for now. I might add something to the front of the house, maybe something over top of the doorway, maybe a little sign or something. I don't know yet. We'll see. And then of course on the top, and you're getting glare from my computer, so let me see if I can just move this around here a little bit. But you can see my little weather vane that I put up here as well. And actually, to get it raised up, I used an old pen cap that I
simply colored in with a black Sharpie. And I cut the little letters out from the cricket as well as the rooster and just mounted it. That's actually a pin with a little ball on the end, which I colored in with the black magic marker, the Sharpie, and put up through the rooster. I did him in 2 layers and glued the layers together just to give him a little bit more thickness. And those are just little stir sticks on top. So I think it's turned out pretty neat. And that's going to go on top of the drawer box, which will have the little journals in it, and there'll be a scrapbook journal inside of this. So in the next segment, I'm going to start working on the drawer box. I haven't determined yet what I'm going to do to decorate it, but we'll see.
So I hope you're enjoying those segments. There's still a few more to go, but I really enjoyed putting that project together. I really liked it. Okay, so events in the past week. Update on my mother. She's fine. We actually got to physically see her. You know that we tried to go on her 80th birthday, my sister and myself, and of course 2 days before that happened they had an outbreak of COVID in the nursing home, so they locked everybody down. Turned out that the one patient that had been detected with it, it was a false positive. Everybody's fine, and as of this past Thursday they reopened up for outside visitations. So I booked my sister and I a time and off we went. Now, when we got there, and we knew this was going to happen, of course, because they have a lot of restrictions, and that's fine. As I said, I don't have any problem with any of those restrictions at all. It's keeping my mother and the other residents safe. We had to check in with them outside. They had a couple staff members outside. We were wearing our masks. They asked us all the pertinent questions they ask you about your health and everything like that. And then they took us to an area which is still outside, but it's sort of a deckish like area, and there's 2 chairs sitting there, one for me, one for my sister, and there's another chair which was meant for the person you were visiting. My mother comes with her own chair though, because she's in a wheelchair, and it's 6 feet away, and you are wearing your masks and you have 30 minutes. So it worked like clockwork. They've got it down pat, which is good. They roll my mother out. And I don't know if she knew we were coming or not, because both my sister and I tried to call her every day that week before the visit, and she never once answered her phone. So we had to have a little discussion with my mother when we saw her out there, but she was like a squirrel in headlights. Well, first of all, she had not been outside in quite a while. And basically, she wanted to go right back in as quick as she could. Oh, it's too noisy out here. Well, yeah, it was kind of noisy because this nursing home is located on a main street that has a lot of traffic on it, and we were right in front of the building, and only maybe 25 feet or so, or 50 feet maybe from the road itself, and every truck that went by, every car, yeah, it was noisy. There's no 2 ways about it. Yeah, we at least had a visit. Now, are we going to do this again? Probably not for a while. Mainly because it's hard to get a time, because everybody wants a time. And second of all, really, I don't think my mother really cared too much about it, okay? In fact, I discussed it with her. I said, Mom, I don't think, unless you really feel, and she says, no, that's fine. I says, well, Mom, you got to answer your phone though, because we call you all the time, and we need you to answer the phone. Well, she has this excuse. Well, I can't get to the phone. Well, we let it ring 20 times, literally 20 times, because we know we got to give her time to get to the phone. We gave her some suggestions about keeping the phone, it's wireless, keeping the phone with her when she's in her wheelchair, putting it in the bed with her when she's having a lie down or something like that. My mother won't do any of those things. She won't. Now, you might think, well, yeah, at her age, she's 80, she's senile. No, she's not. No, she's not. You've heard me say this before. She's not. She's perfectly intact mentally. It's just my mother doesn't have a lot of, what do you call it? She doesn't want to do anything. She wants everybody to do everything else for her, including holding the phone up for her. So I don't like to, if she doesn't answer the phone, I can call the desk and get a staff member to, go into her room, and I'll say, I'll phone back in 5 minutes, and the staff member can be in there in the room making sure my mother knows that and is positioned by the phone. But I don't want to bother the staff with something like this. They have much more important things to do, and they're understaffed to start with, and they're busy, busy, busy. So I don't want to be bothering them with that kind of thing, and I told my mother that too. So I guess it comes down to this. You try what you can try, and if it works, fine. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. I know she's being looked after all right. I mean, I feel like a bad son, Oh, that whole day that, I wasn't looking forward to going over and seeing my mother. I don't know why. But, there's nothing much to talk to her about. She can be very negative, so that's a downer. And on top of it all, I wasn't even sure if she would be coming out, because my mother's pulled this stunt before when we've gone over to meet her or whatever. We'll find her in bed. And we'll go, you're not feeling well, Mother. Well, I don't know. That's her favorite expression. Well, I don't know. Then you'd play doctor and, well, does this hurt? Well, I don't. No, she does this. She does this. She's passive aggressive. I don't know. So I wouldn't have been surprised if we'd gotten over there. We're sitting down waiting for the help to come out with my mother, and someone come out and say, your mother's not feeling that well right now, so she doesn't want to come out. That wouldn't have surprised me at all. But anyways, we try. And yeah, you've heard me say it before. Mothers are wonderful at putting guilt on their children. I swear. Okay. So anyways, I will carry on with contacting her the best I can. And, we will go over again and see her again, but we're not going to do that every week. Not right now. We were doing that every week before COVID. Both my sister and I. So she was getting plenty of visitors. She even says, well, she complains that her best friends don't call her anymore. And there's a cousin that used to call her on a regular basis. Mom, I've talked to them. They call you. You don't answer the phone. Now, after a while, they kind of just give up. Oh, that's all I get. Oh. Well, whose fault's that? So anyways, she's fine. Moving on. What's next on my list? Oh yeah, another family thing. It was my brother's 59th birthday this past week. And you know that the relationship I have with my brother is somewhat estranged. He lives in Vancouver, in Kelowna, Abbotsford actually, out in British Columbia. And haven't seen him in about 2 years, and at that point I saw him for like 3 minutes, and that was it. I'm not going to talk about why we are the way we are with each other, but it's just to say that I think as you grow older, you feel you should, or at least I feel you should leave the door open. He is family. I don't have any resentment to my brother, really. I did, for other reasons, for a time. I'm over that now. Time heals, I guess. And it's not like he and I had a really major falling out either. It's just what it is. So on my birthday last month in July, I got a surprise text message from my brother wishing me a happy birthday. And we had a little chat via text, how's the family doing, blah, blah, blah. And that was nice. It was a little catch up. So I thought I would return the favor. And on his birthday, I sent him an email wishing him a happy birthday and just describing, telling him about how Mom was, that she had moved into a private room and all this kind of stuff, and how my sister and her family were doing, all that kind of stuff, and, just catch up. So he did write back a shorter message, thanks for, the birthday wishes and everything. He said everybody was fine out there, but this was going to be a short message because his daughter, my oldest niece, she and her husband were about to arrive for dinner at her father's house, I guess to celebrate his birthday probably, of course. Hope they were doing it safely. I don't know. So great. When will I hear from him again? Well, I'm not going to sit around and wait necessarily to hear from him. I've the door is open a crack in terms of communication. So let's just open the door a little further, and I'll just try to make a point of sending him a message maybe once a month as an update on what's going on with my mother. I used to do that way back before my mother was in a nursing home and my father was still alive, telling him what was going on with them, and I never got any answers back. And they got the emails, but I'd even try to call and they would just let it go to voicemail and they wouldn't call me back. So that kind of died at that point. So, we're getting older. I really don't want to drop off the face of this earth with leaving this feeling of estrangement from my brother. He's my only brother. We are like night and day. I mean, he's very different from me. Or maybe he's not. Maybe not. As you grow older, sometimes the things that made you so different from each other don't seem to matter anymore. But life's too short to isolate people from your life. I don't know. We'll see. I'm rambling. Okay, let's move on. So that's about it for me today, but I do want to remind you again about the link to the Craft and Chat for this coming Wednesday. Links in the show notes, so there you are. All are welcome, and I hope to see you then. So have a great week. Hopefully we'll see you on Wednesday, and if not, maybe we'll see you on Sunday for Stephen and Walter Live, and for sure, see you in a week's time for my next weekly vlog. Have a good one. Stay healthy, stay safe, stay in. Bye-bye.